Okay, so for this lecture, tutuloy natin. So last time we've discussed the introduction to quantitative methods as well as data and data analysis. So now we are going to discuss descriptive statistics. So here we will have the unit 3, which is the graphical technique of quantitative methods, okay? And as well as the unit 4, which is descriptive statistics. So ito yung mga i-discuss natin for this meeting. Alright, so let's proceed to the discussion real quick. Unit 3, the graphical technique of quantitative methods. Sabi natin kanina, there are multiple ways. Tama? May iba't ibang paraan para i-present ang data. It can be through tables, pwede ring text, okay, and then pwede rin yung tinatawag natin na mga graphs, which is the most common type. So by the end of this lecture, we will be able to draw, analyze frequency table and graph, draw and analyze histogram table and graph, and then explain the concept of the frequency polygon and the diagram. So all of this we will study in this video. Okay, so first let us focus on the graphical techniques for quantitative data. Quantitative data is information about quantities. That is information that can be measured and written down with numbers. So nabanggit naman na natin to kanina, and then some aspects to consider about quantitative data, it focuses more on numbers. Can be displayed to graphs, charts, tables, and maps. So alam naman natin to, wala nang bagong information. Next, quantitative data can be displayed over time such as a line chart. So, alam nyo na rin naman na kung ano ang line chart. Later on, i-explore naman natin to. And then, pagdating sa quantitative data, these are data that can be represented through pictures. So, that explore data in a visual way. Visual representation focuses on the themes found in the data can tell a story. Okay? So, pwede daw siyang kwento kung ano ang nangyayari, especially when it comes to progression of data, as well as it can also be displayed graphically as a pie chart or a bar chart. Okay, so the first type of graph we will be discussing is called the histogram. So a histogram is a diagram consisting of rectangles whose area is the proportional to the frequency of a variable and whose width is equal to the class interval. So let's take a look at this one. So as you can see here, ang intervals natin ay 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. So in this graph, there are how many people, there are how many people between 20 to 30. If we take a look at the graph, it goes up to the point 20. And sabi dito, yung area daw niya ang nagde-describe dun sa frequency. So ang frequency natin ay, ilan ang area nito? 2. Tama? 2 times, 2. As well as dito naman ay 4. Dito naman ay, so since this is one interval, 1 lang yung length nito. Tama? So 1 times 2, there are 2. As well as this one, merong 4, and so on, so forth. This is an example of a histogram. Madali lang naman siyang gawin. So it depends on the interval. Next is the graphic timeline. So a graphic timeline is a type of chart which visually shows a series of events in chronological order over a linear scale. The power of a timeline is that it is graphical, which makes it easy to understand critical milestones such as the progress of a project schedule. As you can see here, this one is an example of a Gantt chart. Kung alam niyo na, G-A-N-T-T, Gantt chart, kung saan makikita natin yung progression over a, for example, a building project. So the first step is the planning. And dito makikita nyo rin yung blocks involved kung gaano katagal yung magiging estimate ng project duration or the particular step to that particular project. The next one is bibili ka ng raw materials, ito, and so on so forth. So anong makikita natin base dito sa timeline na ito? That the project will be finished by what? July 15, 2022. That is the target date of completion. As you can see here, ano yung matatagal na bars dito? Saan tayo matatagal? Nandito si paintings, installation ng air conditioner, and so on so forth. So this is just an example. Another one is the timeline here or yung tinatawag natin na line chart, na meron tayong multiple line chart. As you can see here, we have the graphs of the moose. So yung moose natin, yung solid square, and then yung open diamond ay ito yung graph ng wolves. As you can see here, we have a progression or a relationship will arise. If the number of wolves is high, anong nangyari dito? So nandito siya, the number of wolves or the number of moose decreases, tama? Kung mataas yung wolves, what will happen to the moose? Bababa yung population niya. And if bumaba yung population ng moose, unti yung makakain ng wolves, which makes the number of moose rise, and then bababa naman yung number ng wolves. Pag marami na makakain yung wolves, again, tataas siya and bababa. As you can see, there's a constant cycle between the population. This is called a predator-prey relationship. Okay? The next one is the pie chart, a very common chart or graph, a type of graph in which a circle is divided into sectors. Alam na natin to. For example, this one, we have the pet ownership, so of dogs, cats, fish, rabbits, and rodents. So the slice of the circle or the pie corresponds to the number or the percentage in which the number of people own dogs, cats, fish, rabbits, and rodents. Okay? Another one is the scatter plot. So I think napahapyawan naman na to last week. So scatter plot is a graph in which the values of two variables are plotted along two axes in which we are targeting, or ang goal natin sa scatter plot ay to establish a relationship between two or more variables. As we can see here in our example, we have a scatter plot of the average temperature and then the visitors. What can you see in the graph? So here we have random plots, okay, of points, but if you can see, there is a trend line here. So if we approximate the trend line, it will look something like this, which is a positive trend, which means that increasing, pag tumaas yung temperature, the number of visitors sa beach ay tumataas din. So this is a positive correlation. Later on, we will learn how to compute the correlation between visitors and average temperatures using the Pearson correlation or yung multi-regression analysis. Another example is the hours of exercise per week, and then resting heart rate. Ano nangyayari? Pag mas madalas ka daw mag-exercise, yung heart rate mo ay mas mababa. Yung resting heart rate mo ay mas mababa. What does this mean? Healthier people have lower resting heart rate. For example, si Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has a very low resting heart rate. Kasi nga, he exercises much per week. Okay? So, yun pala, pag mababa yung resting heart rate mo, mas healthy ka. Okay? Kasi mas nagiging efficient yung puso mo at pumping blood. Okay? Next, aside from graphs, another way to organize data ay yung tinatawag natin na frequency distribution. Or yung table na sinasabi natin. A frequency distribution is a table with which data summarized into groups known as intervals. So an example of this one is ito. So from our previous video, we have the final grades of agriculture students in math. Okay, this is a raw data kasi hindi pa siya organized. Kaya i-organize natin siya into an array. Okay, and this is the array. So frequency distribution is the organization of raw data in table form. I-arrange natin tong data na to into a table by using what? Classes and frequencies. For example, hahatiin natin to into ranges such as 50 to 60, 61 to 70, and so on, so forth. Okay? And then we have two types of frequency distribution, categorical and then group. Yung categorical natin, madali lang siyang gawin. Math, English, Science, bibilangin mo lang kung ilan. Okay? This one is also an example of a categorical. Pagdating sa group frequency, meron tayong mga bagay na kailangang consider or mga definitions. So first is the unit measure. It is the number of decimal places to which the data contains. For example, ito, yung data natin wala silang decimal points. So dapat lahat ng data mo walang decimal points. Kasi pag merong decimal points diyan tapos yung iba wala, magiging inaccurate yung conclusion na pwede nating magawa. So that is called the unit measure. The next one is the class frequency or the number of observations falling in the class. So this one is madali lang kunin, binibilang lang natin siya. The next one is the class interval, the numbers defining the class, and there are two parts of this class interval, the lower limit and then the upper limit. So they comprise the class interval. So the fourth one is the class size. Gaano ba kalaki yung isang class? It is the difference between the upper and then the lower class boundaries of the preceding class. Okay? For example, we have here the scores of BSIT students in the prelims in mathematics with class size 6. So, nahati na siya. Ito yung mga class interval natin, 50 to 55. Ito yung lower limit. Ito yung upper limit. And then yung frequency, binilang lang naman siya. And then our class size here is 6. How do we compute the class size? Difference between the upper class boundaries. For example, ito, 61 to 55, 6 ang class size. So, dapat ang class size niyan lahat ay 6. Okay, so 67 minus 61, 6, and so on and so forth. So, uniform yung class size natin. Okay, yung frequency, hindi siya uniform kasi binibilang lang natin. Ilan ba yung nakaloob sa 50 to 55? Okay, pag in-increase natin yung class size, ano mangyayari? Or pag din-increase natin yung class size, ano mangyayari? Dadami yung groups. Okay, yung tinatawag natin na class intervals. For example, dito, we have 10 groups instead of just 8. Okay? So, we have 50 to 54, 55 to 59, and so on and so forth. So, paano na-compute si class size? 59 minus 54 is 5. Okay? So, paano ba gumawa ng frequency distribution table? Una, bilangin mo kung ilan yung numbers. Pangalawa, hanapin si maximum at saka si minimum. Compute the range, which is maximum minus minimum, and then determine the number of classes using the formula. K is equal to the square root of the number of observations, and then ira-round up to the nearest whole number. Round up. Okay? So, i-recall nyo na lang kung ano ba yung round up, no? And then number 5, determine the class size by the formula range divided by the K. And number 4. And then finally, gagawin na natin yung listahan, Gagawin natin yung list ng mga lower intervals and then i-add natin yung class size. Mamaya, makikita nyo to sa ating example. So, tignan natin dito sa example. We have the ages of the top 50 wealthiest people in the world. Ano yung step 1? Bilangin natin sila. Ilang kaya to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Ilan? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So, sabi nga dito ay 50. Okay, so there are 50, n equals 50. Step 2, find the maximum. What is the maximum? So if looking into this, makikita nyo na yung maximum ay 90, and then the minimum is 37. So the range must be, what? 53. Or paano na-compute yun? 90 minus 37. We get 53. Okay, next, ilang classes yung meron tayo? For example, dito we have 50. K is equal to the square root of 50. What do we get? 7.07. If we round up to the nearest integer, 7 will become 8. Kasi nag-round up tayo. Pag tayo ay nag-round down, magiging 7 siya. But what we want is to round up. So, pag grinupo natin to, kailangan meron tayong 8 groups. Okay? So, step 5, determine the class size. Gaano kalaki yung isang class? We have range divided by K, which is 6.625. So, sabi dito, kailangan natin siyang i-round up. So, si 6.625 magiging 7. So, our class size will become 7. Now, sa step 6, madali na lang siya. List the class intervals, which is magsimula tayo sa lowest. So, sabi natin kanina, ang lowest natin ay 37. So, how then do we get this one? Paano nakuha, sir, si 44, si 51, si 58? Mag-a-add tayo ng class size. Ang class size natin ay 7. So, 37 plus 7, 44, plus 7, 51, plus 7, 58, and so on, so forth. How do we get the upper class limits? Babawasan natin si 44 ng isa. Magiging 43 dito. Ayan. So, magiging 43. And then, again, add the class size. 43 plus 7, 50, plus 7, 57, and so on, so forth. And then, finally, we compute the frequency. Paano natin hahanapin si frequency? Bibilangin lang natin. Ilan ba dito yung 37 to 43? Ilan yung 37 to 43 dito? Okay? So, mas madali siyang bilangin pag syempre naka-array na to or naka-organize from lowest to highest. Okay? So, malinaw ba kung ano ang frequency distribution? Basically, i-group lang natin siya into classes and then bibilangin natin. Okay? So, a frequency distribution can be graphically depicted as a histogram. Pwede daw natin siyang i-depict as a histogram. For example, ito, the weight in pounds of a group of workers are, so we have here 20 data points. The first step is i-group-groupan natin sila. For example, ito, 140 to 150, 150 to 160, and so on and so forth. Creating the histogram will look something like this. Okay? We have a bar or a rectangle that is proportional to the number. Okay? Marunong naman na siguro lahat gumawa ng bar graph at this point kasi third year naman na kayo. So, dapat the graphs are uniform. Okay? Huwag niyong kalimutan yun, ha? And then the frequency polygon. So, basically, frequency polygon is just another way of visualizing your data. Ibang paraan lang para i-present yung data. How do we do this? Ang gagawin natin, hahanapin natin yung gitna ng mga ito, tapos ating ipag-connect. For example, ito, yung example din natin kanina, the interval and then the frequency, hahanapin natin si midpoint. How do we get the midpoint? We get 140 plus 150, which is 290, divided by 2, we get 145. Dito din, 150 plus 160 is 310, divided by 2 is 155. Okay? And then, after natin makuha si midpoint, doon natin i-graph yung frequency. For example, ito. Yung 145, 1, yung 155 ay 4, and so on and so forth. And then, isasara natin yung polygon natin by assuming that there is another class here na less than sa kanya, and then 0 yung kanyang value. And then, dito naman si other side, mag-a-assume ulit tayo ng merong isa pang class that is 0 in value para maging closed yung ating polygon. Okay? Okay, so yun lang naman yung mga methods in graphing, no? Madali lang naman mag-graph actually ng data bar, pwede kayong gumamit actually ng Excel or any other software. Hindi na tayo uso yung mano-mano nag-graph. But still, I will require you to do manual computations pagdating sa pag-graph. Okay, so we have here the unit 4, which is descriptive statistics. Okay, ano ba yung maaaral natin sa descriptive statistics? Medyo marami tayong learning outcomes. So first, what is descriptive statistics? This explain the cumulative frequency distribution, an ogive, relative frequency distributions, draw and explain pie charts, bar charts, okay, and then discuss the several types of bar graphs. Okay, maikli lang tong discussion na to kasi about graphs lang naman siya which you already know. Okay, what is descriptive statistics? So, brief informational coefficients that summarize a given data set. Basically, we use graphs to summarize a data. Gumagamit tayo ng graphs para i-explain yung data natin. Are broken down into measures of central tendency and measures of variability. Yung measures of central tendency, alam nyo na to. Si mean, median, at si mode. Si variability, siya yung variance, standard deviation, z-score, and so on, so forth. Okay. The first one is part of the descriptive statistics is the cumulative frequency. How do we get the cumulative frequency? Okay, it summarizes the cumulative frequency of a data set. It results in a running total of the frequency. How do we do this? For an example, we have this one. Again, same example. We get this cumulative frequency part of the table. How did we get this? We start with 1, the first frequency. Add 4, we get 5. Add 8, we get 13. Add 7, we get 20. And then add 5, we get 25. This is the running total. As you go through the intervals, nadadagdagan na ng dadagdagan. Kasi nga cumulative. Pag sinabi natin cumulative, in other words, naiipon or nadadagdagan siya ng paunti-unti. Okay? Okay, what is an ogive? An ogive is a graph of the cumulative frequency. Igra-graph natin yung cumulative frequency natin para tayong gumagawa ng isang frequency, nung tinatawag natin na ogive, para tayong nagra-graph ng frequency polygon kanina. Okay? As like this one, okay? So, for example, 140, kinuha natin yung ang value niya ay 140 to 150, ang value niya ay 1. And then 150 to 160, 4. Or naging 5. And then naging 13, naging 20, and then naging 25. This is an ogive. So again, an ogive is the graph of the cumulative frequency. Okay. Another important concept is what we call the relative distribution. Another part of the frequency distribution table. A relative frequency distribution includes the percentage of a sample size or relative frequency. Pag sinabing percentage, paano mag-compute? Yung number, i-divide mo sa total. Okay? For example, ito, we have interval frequency. So, paano natin na-compute tong frequency factor or relative frequency? I-add muna natin to lahat. Ilan ba to? 1 plus 4, 5, plus 8, 13, plus 7, 20, 25 in total. So, divide natin 1 divided by 25, we get 0.404. 4 divided by 25 is 0.016. 8 divided by 25 is 0.32, and so on and so forth. Yan yung ating relative frequency factor. And then, pag minultiply natin sa 100, makukuha natin yung percentage. So, 4%, 16%, 32, 28, and 20%. That is the relative frequency distribution table. And then, furthermore, meron pa rin tayong relative cumulative frequency distribution table. Pag cumulative, ipag-a-add lang natin. For example, dito, magkakaroon pa tayo ng isang graph. We have 4, 20, 52, 80, and then 100. Kasi dapat ang total nito ay 100. Okay? So, magiging ganito siya. 4, 20, 52, 80, 100. I-add lang natin. 0.4 plus 0.2, and so on and so forth. Okay? Nasaan na yung relative frequency natin ito? Alright. Next, how do we create pie charts and bar charts and line charts? First is a pie chart. Pwede, sabi ko nga kanina, pwede tayo mag-graph ng pie chart using the mano-mano method. Or yung, marunong pa ba kayong gumamit ng protractor? If not, gumamit na lang tayo ng Excel. A pie chart is a useful method for displaying the percentage of observations that fall into each category of qualitative data. Magbigay tayo ng example. We have your race and frequency. A New York Times article reports that 6 million Americans who say they want to work are not even seeking jobs. These 6 million Americans are broken down by race. Ito daw yung mga bilang ng mga gusto magtrabaho pero hindi naman naghahanap ng trabaho. May mga white daw na ilan? 4.32 million, 1.5 million na black, and then others which is ilan to? 180,000. Okay? How do we compute this percentage? O paano nakuha to? 72, 3, and 25. I-divide natin siya sa total. 432,000 divided by 4.32 million divided by 6 million times 100, we get 72. Ito namang 25, nakuha natin to. 1.5 million divided by 6 million is 0.25 times 100, we get 25%, as well as this one. 180,000 divided by 6 million is just 3%. Okay? And then next, what we want is the degrees. Paano computein yung degrees, mga kapatid? Instead of multiplying it by 100, we multiply it by 360. For example, ito, 4.32 million divided by 6 million times 360, we get 259.2 degrees. Okay? And then etong measurement na ito, yung ating gagamitin para po sa pag-graph. Again, mano-mano or gagamit ng protractor, it's all up to you or it's all up to me. Depende sa type of exam na ibibigay ko sa inyo. Okay? So this is the graph that we are left with. So 72% white, 25% black, and then 3% other. Okay? Next, or finally, we have the bar charts. Bar charts, napakadaling gawin. Kasi gagawa ka lang ng rectangles depende sa height or dun sa value na gusto mong i-plot. Bar charts are a quick and easy way of showing variations in or between variables. We have rectangles, Ito lang nyo naman yung mga guidelines. Rectangles of equal width are drawn so that the area closed by each rectangle is proportional to the size of the variable it represents. Okay? We have a guidelines here in drawing bar charts. Make the bars reasonably wide. Huwag naman masyadong manipis or masyadong makapal naman. Yung sakto lang. Draw them neatly and professionally. Malinis. Ensure that bars have all the same width. So, pare-pareho dapat ng size. And then, maging yung gaps, pare-pareho. Okay? And there are several types of bar charts. The first chart is the simple bar chart. Okay? Comprises bars representing each variable drawn either vertically or horizontally. For example, ito, the number of unemployed Americans, according to the New York Times. Okay, so yan, nakikita nyo yung graph natin. Equal yung width, equal din yung gaps, and then proportional yung height niya sa value na kanyang nire-represent. And then it only represents one type of variable. This is the simple bar chart. Okay, a simple bar chart can also be looked at from the point of view of a line chart. Okay, pwede rin siyang gawing line chart. Okay, and then another type of bar is the component or the stacked bar chart where we have multiple types of data within one bar. Okay, a single bar is drawn for each variable with the heights of the bars representing the totals of the categories. And then kada bar, dinidivide pa siya into several categories. An example of this one, ito, XYZ sales. Kada bar, meron tayong 1994, 1995, 1996, and 97. It represents what? Dalawa to yung red, which is the export, and then the local, which is yung blue. Okay, dalawang type of variable within a single bar. Okay, data. Next is the percentage component bar. So, as the name suggests, kukunin muna natin yung percentage bago natin i-graph. As you can see, pagdating sa percentages, dapat yung bawat bar natin ay equal. Kasi nga lahat naman yan ay 100%. So, if we take a look at this one, percentage component bar, pare-pareho silang bar, which is equally, what? 100%. But it differs when it comes to this subdivision. So, magkakaiba yung percentage. If we take a look at the graph of the first quarter, the bar on the first quarter, the East only comprises 17%, while the West, 33%, and the North, 50%. So, as you can see, if we do a little bit of evaluation, as time increases, as the quarter goes on, or as the year goes on, the sales of the North decreases, while the value or the sales of the East increases. So that is the percentage component bar. Okay? And then finally, we have the last type of bar chart, which is the multiple bar chart. For multiple or cluster bar charts, 2 or more bars are grouped together in each category. Okay? As you can see here, we have local, export, 2 bars within the same year, 2 bars. It can be 2 or more or 3 or more. Kaya siya multiple bar chart kasi sa isang time frame or time period, sa isang category, dalawa yung type ng bars. Meron tayong local and export as an example. Okay? And then finally, the scatter diagram, which is na-describe na to, paulit-ulit na, wherein we can describe the relationship between two quantitative variables. Ginagamit natin yung scatter. For example, economists are interested in the relationship between inflation rates and unemployment rates. Pag tumataas ba ang presyo ng bilihin, nakakaapekto ba to sa bilang ng tao na walang trabaho? Or yung bilang ba ng number ng walang trabaho ang nakakaapekto sa bilang ng sa presyo ng mga bilihin? Kaya yan yung mga pwede natin pag-aralan. Okay, a scatter diagram is a plot of all pairs x and y's for the variables x and y. For example, ito, titingnan natin yung relationship ng income at saka education. Mas matagal ka ba nag-aaral, mas mataas yung sahod mo? Or wala ba siyang relationship? Yun yung gusto natin sagutin. Tingnan natin dito. We have x is the variable, that is the years of education, and then y is the income. So, titingnan natin yung relationship. Pag 11 years ka daw nag-aral, yung income mo ay 25 in millions. Okay? If 12 years ka nag-aral, meron kang 33 na sahod or income. Titingnan natin yung relationship niya and so on and so forth. Okay? If we feel that the value of one variable depends to some degree on the value of the other, the first variable is called the dependent variable. For example, ito yung tinatawag natin na dependent variable, years of education. Kasi yung income mo, hindi naman nakaka-apekto sa years of education mo. But possibly, yung years of education mo maka-apekto sa income. So, ito yung dependent, and then the other variable is called the independent. Baliktad. This is the dependent, and this is the independent. Independent si X kasi hindi siya nakadepende kay Y. At si Y ay dependent kasi nakadepende siya kay X. I hope that's clear. Yung years of education nakaka-apekto sa income. Kaya siya independent. This one is the dependent. Okay? Alright. If you can see the plot here, we will have a random, parang random lang siya, no? But you can see here, there's an upward trend. What is the upward trend? Pag sinabing upward trend, there's a positive correlation, which means increasing your education years will also increase your income. So, the more time you spend studying, the more years you spend studying, will probably increase your income. Mas tataas yung income nyo, yung sahod nyo, pag mas matagal kayo nag-aral. Okay? Or mas matagal kayo sa school. The scatter diagram allows us to observe two characteristics about the relationship between education and income. Okay? Kasi sabay daw sila nag-i-increase, ibig sabihin positive yung relationship, which means the more years you spend in school, mas mataas yung sahod mo. Okay? And here we have a homework for your module 1, unit 3 and 4. For the following given data, we have the ages of the top 50 wealthiest people. Kailangan nyong gumawa ng frequency distribution table. Sundan nyo, step by step. Para pare-pareho tayo ng table na makuha. Pangalawa, gagawa nyo siya ng ogive. So, ogive involves computing for the middle class point or class middle. And then finally, create a relative cumulative frequency distribution table. Madali lang naman siyang computein. Pwede kayong gumamit ng Excel. Pwede nyo i-compute sa Excel and then i-print nyo na lang. Or you can mano-mano na computation. Ilagay nyo lang sa yellow pad. So, I will accept yellow pad or printed. Number 2, okay, gagawa tayo ng correlation analysis. Yung oras ba na nagpa-practice ka ng jump shot mo ay nakaka-apekto sa score mo sa isang laro sa basketball. So, you have 4 questions to answer. Which variable is the independent? Which is the dependent? Kailangan nyo rin gumawa ng scatter diagram. Again, papayagan ko kayong gumamit ng Excel, but you need to print it and submit it to me face to face. And then finally, is there a relationship between the two variables? Okay? Okay, you may answer this homework by pair or individual. No groups of 3 may be formed. Write your answers in a sheet of yellow paper, or if you use Microsoft Excel, i-preprint nyo siya. Maski anong size ng bond paper ang gamitin nyo. And do not forget to write your name and section. Again, this is our second lecture in quantitative methods. So, thank you for watching.